Okay, so let's do this. Of the people in this room, have any of you seen me give a talk before, other than you, John? Okay, a few of you. So you may know that I tend to make a lot of this shit up as I go, and I treat this almost as much as therapy as I do anything even remotely design or presenter related. So be prepared for that. If you haven't seen me talk before, if you don't know who I am, I'm Dave Wiskus, and I'm a fucking rock star. I do want to take a moment to warn you, there will be foul language in this room for the next 45 fucking minutes or whatever. So this is your chance, your last opportunity. If you don't want to hear me say the words fuck or shit or ass or dick in a non-anatomical way, this is your chance to leave so you don't hear me say those words. Because it's going to happen. If you have seen me speak before, you know that my thing is I kind of tell embarrassing personal stories, and today I'm here mostly to promote my band while pretending to teach you about design and branding. So I'm going to tell you some embarrassing personal stories that vaguely connect to our logo. We're all on board with that. So who you were. Here I am. This was 5-6 years ago. It was taken shortly after I got into iOS design. And of course, I mean, it's a random shot taken at a, where the fuck we were. But it's not going to be a flattering photo. Of course it's not going to be a flattering photo. But I love this photo because of what it represents. This is like a version of me in so many ways. Not just like the way I look, but it's like a space I occupied in time, like this character that I was playing. And so I use this as sort of like a guidepost. To me, this picture is representative of everything about me that has failed. Now, there are some things that I've done that in my design career, when I was designing, I made some things that were, some of them were fairly high profile, and as a result of this, I thought I was pretty hot shit. Worked on NHL, all these cool companies, like everything that I wanted to do in the app business when I got into this, like all these people that I wanted to work with, all these things that I wanted to do, I got to do a lot of them. And I had my name on stuff that went out to millions and millions of people, and felt pretty good. I also had a podcast that was fairly popular called Unprofessional. I did with Lex Friedman for a long time, and then Jamie Newberry after that. And then I made an app called Vesper with my friends Brent Simmons and John Gruber, two guys who were like heroes of mine when I got into the software world, before I got into the world. Two of the guys who were reasons why I started doing the software stuff. And then I started going to all these conferences, getting up on stages like this, talking to people about design and how important design was, and here's how you do it right. And the truth was, I had no fucking idea what I was talking about. All of this just inflated my ego, made me think I was hot shit, made me think that, of course, I'm on the stage, you should be listening to me, this grandiosity. And it went to my head. A lot. And I have this story that I used to tell at conferences about a time that I went to Amsterdam and I met a girl, and I totally fell in love, and I wound up moving there, and it sounds all grand romantic until you realize that she dumped me like 2 weeks later. So that was fun. But I spent a summer in Amsterdam, so not everything's terrible about it. But when shit like that happens, it's like this version of me that wants big, cool, interesting things to happen. And so I'll sort of manufacture these scenarios. And that's a part of me that, like, it's a trait that I sort of embrace. I like that I do these things. I like that I have this, like, vision of what I could or should be. Maybe not always super smart about it, but, you know, it's good stories, it's character building. And I got some songs out of it, which we used for our first record. But when you write songs about things like going to Amsterdam for a girl that you just met and getting dumped, what kind of band is that? We started doing the branding stuff. I'll take responsibility here. When I started working on the branding for the band, like, this was my first attempt at an airplane mode logo. This is my first idea. Here's the bad version. There's a thing that I say when I'm working on any kind of collaborative creative project. Here's the bad version. The reason I say this is because if you say, hey guys, check out this thing I made, then people's impulse is to start finding the things they don't like about it. When you say, here's the bad version, everybody defaults to, okay, this is shit, what do I like? What could be improved? This is like a small framing thing. So here's my bad version. And it's pretty bad. Like even as a thing, do I have a laser?
Yeah, the top
Hey, look at that. This line right here, it's too long. Like even as a paper airplane, it fails. It's not even the right thing. If you were to unfold this, the sheet of paper would be like that. Doesn't make any sense. And it's trying too hard. It's too clever. It's been done a million times, and frankly, it looks like a mail app. I think a mail app actually used a paper airplane. If you look in the mail app, the send button, I think, still is a paper airplane. So probably not. It doesn't scream indie rock band, I guess is what I'm saying. So then I tried this. A little on the nose still, but in this case, the plane wasn't about representing airplane mode. It was about, I don't know, having a simple glyph that we could like fill up. What's the quote thing about your logo is a container, an empty vessel that you fill with your ideology. But even here, it had pointy wings and it's all sharp edges and sort of fits with the Helvetica thing. And we have a rule that like we still use a variation of this plane, but even now, the angle here, roughly 1 o'clock. We still do the 1 o'clock thing just because of the slant of the side of the A for Helvetica. We don't even use Helvetica anymore. But like a little bit of tilt. That was kind of a thing. But this is all like it's soft gradients and highlight lines and iOS 6 and skeuomorphism. Like Scott, this is what Scott Forstall would have done for an airplane logo. And it's shit. But it actually made it into the wild. And there's this picture. Renee Ritchie from iMore posted this years ago when we released the first single. And anytime I search for anything related to this, this is like the 3rd or 4th picture in the list, and it fucking haunts me to this day. I hate this thing. Because it's just so drab and dreary. It's like, there's nothing alive about this. So we refined the plane a little bit. We made it a little happier, rounder on the edges there, a little friendlier. This is the sort of thing that, if it were to poke you in an uncomfortable place, it wouldn't hurt too much. Like you don't want anything that like feels. I mean, we're not a metal band. We're not trying to stab people or cut people with our logo. The shape is still obvious enough, but again, it's wanting to lay down sort of a foundation of things we could do to the plane rather than get super clever about the plane. Because when we try to get clever, it's a paper airplane, and that shit just doesn't work. I almost just said that shit doesn't fly, and you're welcome for me not saying that. But when this is your color scheme, and these are the stories you're telling, the songs kind of came out a little dreary, a little mopey. I think of it as our black and white record, so much so that even the album artwork. Like I love this photo. I love this photo for so many reasons, and to me, it sort of represents what the album's about. It's I don't want to get too like explain the art to you, but like here's my character and like too far in the foreground because all these songs are about me, my story, and then like presumably the object of the story, the object of my affection, the girl in the story, at the center, but not really at the focal point. A little out of focus, a little washed out. You'll notice like the flower's tilted away from my flower. There's rain, so it's not the happiest day. Like everything thematically about this works for the record. But you look at this, and this is not what you put on at a fucking party. This is not party rock. And it makes sense because where these songs came from, where we were coming from as a band, we had no idea what we were doing, like branding-wise. We were still figuring this out. And the imagery we had to work from was my experience in Amsterdam. And when your experience looks like this, like that's the kind of thing you come away with. And this sort of confusion led us to when we went in to get our first band photos. Joe, you're going to love this. We went to get our first band photos. We didn't really, none of us really knew, like, we didn't have a dress style for we didn't really know what our thing was. So we ended up with this picture. And I guess it looks like we're having fun. But like, why do I look so fucking smug? And why is everybody else laughing? It looks like I just farted in this picture. That's what it looks like to me. Hey everyone, listen to Airplane Mode. Mopey fart rock. And so this is like, all of this is a capturing of who we were. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know how to present ourselves. And so for the next record, we started thinking about like, who are we? What do we want to say? Like, how do we capture like the more fun, happy, like we were trying to put on shows that people could get excited about, but like the mopey stuff didn't really work. So something about who we are. And we came up with a style, sort of appearance style / like overall branding. And the branding, it's not just a logo. The branding is all of the things that make our thing our thing. So when we play shows, we fill the stage with LED balloons, blinking balloons, and we have assistants, or sometimes the band, if it's a small show, go out into the crowd before we go on stage and give out glow stick necklaces. Things that like make it feel a little bit more like a party. And when you've got mopey fart rock, that's not a party vibe. So working on the second record, it's like, what's our sound? How do we party it up a little bit? Like, vocals, guitar, bass, drums, keyboard synth, that gives us some opportunity to do some more poppy stuff. And so when we went into the studio for the second record, we started thinking more pop. How do we go further down that path? And the branding quickly reflected that. This is a variation on what the album cover was for the second EP, where it's just, big, bright pink text, popular airplane in the corner. It doesn't have to be the plane isn't the focus of anything. It's more there as like a footnote. And then you get the stars around the thing. It's kind of a circus feel. You can see it as like a circus tent, happy. We call this like the neon circus look. We did this thing where we had like the glow sticks, and we all had light up things on our instruments, and little LED wire that we run all over ourselves, which unfortunately caused a buzzing in the equipment, so we had to stop using those. But all of it was in the interest of how do we create like a spectacle. And this is our fun brand. We're thinking in colors and shapes, and it's still just typography with one little airplane in the corner, but it's like, how do we make this fun? How do we make this exciting? You look at this, you think, well, these guys this isn't grayscale backdrop. This is like something interesting is going to happen. It might not be good, but it's going to be interesting. And what says fun more than a branding guide? I did. I took all the time to figure out what worked, what didn't. This is my iOS and interaction design experience coming up. I want to make sure that things look, even this, like I made sure this lined up with the I was trying way too hard here. But I was right, that yellow against the white would be a terrible idea. Don't do it. Up here? Fine, sure. So like setting down a group of rules that whatever the brand was, we could apply it to. And this had an impact on how we saw ourselves. We put a message out there. We put something out that like, this defines us. This is how we define ourselves to the world. What does that say about us? Now we see ourselves differently, maybe. And then the next band photo. Sorry, Joe. The next band photo. By the way, Joe Chaplinski, our bass player in the house. Next photo, a little bit better. I don't know what I was doing with the pink thing there. A little affectation. But a little bit more bright colors, happy. Our drummer's out of focus for some reason. But he wasn't further forward, he just vibrates at the wrong frequency. It's like one of those rolling shutter things. He's never in focus. But it's a little bit happier, a little bit more, this is what we want to say about ourselves. And that's cool. And that sort of captured that moment. As we're doing this big experiment of we make music videos now, and we make our money by doing the brand deals at the end of the music video, sort of like podcast ads or YouTube ads. Throw one of those in a YouTube video that happens to be a music video, suddenly the band can make money. And bands don't make money, so that puts us in a whole other class. We're like the most financially successful band you've never heard of. So if we're doing like this experimentation in public, and if we're putting things out there representing us, it should be okay for us to fuck up or look stupid once in a while. That's part of the deal. But it leads us to the thought of, where do we want to be? And again, with the brand, it's not so much that the logo defines us. It's not so much that the colors define us. If the shows are designed to be like a party, and we've got these light up balloons. We've got the glow sticks, and we usually give away like food or candy or something. We played a couple nights ago, we give away sandwiches. For some reason. We want it to feel like an event, not just another concert. We want the band's music to be more fun. We want it to be poppy. We want it to be happy. We want to experiment a bit more. And coming from the iOS world, and all of my look at me on the stage, grandiose, I'm hot shit, look at the cool kids table. I was always like, who do I know? Where can I be seen? There's all this focus on the optics of the thing. And it did not do well for me in the end. And there's, I think, a bigger story to tell here, but the abridged version is that all of those little micro borderline successes, all of those things that sort of fed into the ego of it made me kind of a dick. And it made me pursue the wrong sorts of relationships and the wrong sorts of projects. And it came to a head a couple years ago. I was working on a YouTube series called Better Elevation, and I made a video called Podcast Intervention, where I said to people out in the Apple community that it felt like we had all these cool, talented people, we had all these resources, and most of the people at the top were doing podcasts, which is cool. Podcasts are great. They're all kind of doing the same podcast, and there's all these other mediums, all these other things we can do. It's always the same people, and I'd said, well, what if we put our time and resources and energy, spent our privilege on things that weren't just made by us or made by people who look like us? Or what if we experimented more? What if we tried new things? And the response I got was an overwhelming yawn. And it sort of led down this path. I think I didn't present it very well at the time. I think it was, I was still in the mode of making things too much about me. And it made it really easy for me to be a figurehead of people resisting change. If there's a resistance to change and you don't guide people into the change properly, you're gonna run into some walls. And I did. And those walls kind of kept building up. And I hit a point where I realized that maybe the Apple community, the tech business, wasn't really for me anymore. And I started going off and doing other things. One of the things that I sort of realized during this period of time was that the things that I thought I cared about, or the things that I thought other people cared about, might not have been correct. I think that I put a lot of value in seeming a certain way, or presenting myself a certain way. I had all the wrong ideas about what my brand was. And I thought too much about the sorts of things that a person would think are cool or not cool. And in that, I sort of lost sight of the fact that, like, it's okay to just like things. Not everything needs to be this auteur theory of everything. Everything has to be refined down to the best possible. It's okay. Sometimes it's okay to like candy. Maybe steak dinner is your thing, but sometimes, Big Mac just fucking sounds good. That's okay. And when I was looking through what we were doing musically, I kept having that same feeling of like everything musically that I've ever done has been with some part of my brain thinking too much about what other people think is cool. And having just gone through like a bigger personal and career change because of the time that I'd spent focusing on what people thought was cool, it made me think more and more about when I was a kid. When I was a kid playing music, the stuff that I listened to, like grunge in the 90s, and there was this sort of prevailing thought that real music was people in a garage with electric guitars, distorted and screaming, and if it was too good, then it wasn't authentic. If it was too polished, it wasn't good. And I remember reading these interviews with Kurt Cobain talking about their massive breakthrough album, Nevermind, and how it was too polished. It felt too corporate. And I look back at that now, it's like, it was a good fucking record. It couldn't have had the impact that it did if it weren't produced well. What's wrong with doing things, making them a little bit more fun? What's wrong with having a big pink logo and fucking glow sticks instead of being all drab and dreary? And so we started finding inspiration in other places. My spirit animal, Taylor Swift. This slide, by the way, is the only reason I asked you to turn the lights down. So I want to make sure it hums. Taylor Swift, like this is music that I got into Taylor. I was introduced to Taylor Swift by a friend of mine, Madeline, who was 4, and insisted while we were playing that we listen to Taylor Swift. And my response at the time was, what else do you like? She's like, Taylor Swift. All right. We get 3 songs in. I'm like, this is really good. And Madeline looks at me, she's like, I know. And that girl had the right answer. She knew what was up. She didn't care what other people thought was cool. She just liked Taylor Swift. It's like, all right, and the music's good. It's okay if I like this. I can be a 30-something white dude listening to it. Like, there's nothing wrong with this. Why would I ever think there was? And maybe, all right, if this is now Taylor Swift is my gateway drug into harder stuff like Katy Perry. Or to be really edgy, Lady Gaga. Also an artist from New York. She played a lot. And before she became Lady Gaga, she played in a lot of the same clubs that we now play. And so I can look at that as, nobody would listen to Lady Gaga and then listen to Airplane Mode and think, yeah, these guys should be on a bill together. But for us to be looking outside of who we were, thinking about our brand, thinking about who we wanted to be, where we wanted to be. And I don't mean that in like a cliche, where's the puck going sort of way, but where do we want to go? If I can look at Lady Gaga and see similarities between our story and hers, now I'm in position to reframe everything. I'm not just trying to be like every other rock band. Airplane Mode isn't trying to be Foo Fighters. Airplane Mode isn't trying to be any of the 90s grunge bands that came before us, like all the stuff that we listened to that inspired us originally. Now we have an opportunity to, like, mix stuff up, try some new shit. Also interesting about these 3 artists, and you'll notice they're all women, but they're all artists who spend a lot of their fame talking about social issues. When I did a quick Google search to find this exact photo, like I just typed in Lady Gaga, and then I clicked on the image tab. But when I did that, the first page, on the results page, I saw a tweet from her. And she was asking people in the black community, how can non-racist white people, like what things can we do to help? And like I'm not qualified to say whether or not that's a useful thing for her to be asking, but it's the kind of thing I would want to be thinking as we create things. If I were in her position of power, I would hope that I could be that thoughtful, or at least try. And if it's okay for them to think about social issues and talk about social issues, is it okay for us to do that? Is this a place we could go? And it's not something, a lot of it is, I pointed out the artists are women, a lot of that is because the biggest artists in the world right now are women. I give a whole fucking talk on why that might be. Actually, I can sum it up in one sentence. The only people who buy music are women. Men don't pay for music, women do. So no surprise. So here they are in a position of fame and power and authority, and this is how they spend it. Yeah, some of it is like fashion line shit, and check out my lipstick, and some of it is like infighting between, her and her. Although, things seem like they're calming down there, that's cool. But with the 3 of them, all this fame and power and authority, they're spending it to a reasonable level, a responsible level, on responsible things. And that's pretty fucking cool. And they can do that while being bright and colorful. They can do that while being kind of cheesy, kind of over the top, kind of a little bit too much. But the music is fun. But if you listen to the music, there's also there's good messages in there. And that's what we want to do. We want to write songs that can speak to people on an intellectual level, even if we're trying to write catchy melodies. I mean, we had a song called "Dance Like You Mean It," which is basically just us saying why do these ladies get to have all the fun, and all the rock stars are so fucking mopey and hate life? Why can't we do these things? Why can't people in a rock club just dance? This is everybody in the rock club dancing, or just swaying back and forth. That's not fun. It's be fucking fun. So how can we combine the seriousness that we want to capture, but the fun that we want to capture? What are the elements that lead to a convergence of these in a way that you can look at this image This is some over-the-top shit. What is she wearing? She wore a meat dress once, and we still take her seriously as an artist. She goes and she plays the Super Bowl, flying down from the rafters, like all of that. But if you watch, incredibly talented, a very talented performer, a talented songwriter. So you can take her seriously while recognizing that she's kind of goofy. In the same way that if you watch a superhero movie, like, if you think too hard about it, a talking raccoon in space is pretty fucking dumb. But it's also a lot of fun. You don't, there's a way to balance this. So with our branding, we tried to find a way to capture that, neon circus look. But with a little bit of that, a serious edge. I feel like this font is the exact opposite of Comic Sans. It's pointy, it's sharp, you could hurt yourself. It feels disco, which is kind of where we want to go. Not that we're going to be a disco band, although there's moments. It's all about the hi-hats. Something that feels bright and colorful, but still feels a little bit serious. And it leads to us thinking about ourselves in a different way. We set a tempo with the first logo, and we sort of live up to it, and we maybe push a little bit past it. And then we change the branding a little bit to where we aspire to be, and we get there, kind of, in some ways, and there's some things that are unexpected. And then we set a new goalpost. Because the brand, the reason the airplane is kind of generic looking is because it'll fit anywhere. Whatever we do to the treatment around this, as long as this is here, we can get away with anything here. A Helvetica AM with all the Scott Forstall skeuomorphic shadows and shit, we can do that at that point in time. We can be that band. We can come into the more pop, light up balloons and disco world and do this shit. And that's cool too. And like with the other photos, we end up in a place where the photo kind of reflects where we ended up. A little bit more serious. But now we have a color palette. Now we have a style going. And the color isn't here. The color isn't represented here. But when you take this and you start, pairing it up with the photo, you can get a better sense of the brand as a whole. Here's a serious group of musicians who make music that might not be all that super serious. Although my favorite photo from this photo shoot is my super serious rock star picture. I've never looked more fucking severe in my life. I look like a vampire. I'm so pale. And the difference between this photo and that first, 5 years ago, 6 years ago photo, obviously this is a professional photographer taking this picture. And the other one was just some random candid shot. I mean, there's also a weight difference, and I'm not wearing glasses. I got a haircut. There's a bunch of shit going on here. But the real difference, I think, isn't that this version of me inherently, we can't, as an image, we can't judge them that way. You can do whatever the fuck you want. I can't judge them that way. I take that back, I can do whatever the fuck I want to, but I'm not going to judge them that way. And the reason is that this photo represents not who I am, but who I want to be. Maybe not quite as serious as this, but it's aspirational. And I think any good headshot, any good photo, any good branding should be aspirational. And going through the process of writing this talk, thinking through what our brand is, if you've ever given a talk before, you write an abstract, you come up with a topic, a headline, a title, you submit it, it gets accepted, and you're like, fuck, I gotta figure out what the hell I'm gonna write. I don't know. So I was looking back through the notes of, what did I say I was gonna get up and talk about? Okay, I guess I'll do that. I started going through the process, and I realized that this wasn't, the process of rebranding the band, each one of these stages, was also a process of rebranding myself. Thinking about who I was as a designer and all of my hot shit, everybody look at me attitude, and then going through some kind of crucible, figuring out who I really was, thinking more about what mattered to me, the issues that I actually cared about. Do I want to be exclusive or do I want to be inclusive? I've been in plenty of exclusive things, and I came away not feeling that super great about it. I spent too much time being the guy in charge of telling people they couldn't sit at the table with us. And I don't ever want to be in that position again. The process I go through here, let me go back a slide. Stare at this while I'm talking. Feels weird with the other thing. It's not about me talking about me anymore, me always thinking about me. I mean, it's tough, and there's always going to be an element of everybody's got ego, everybody's got this investment in their own story. But when I look back at the times I had spent in a position of power or authority in the software world, writing for magazines, doing podcasts, like all the cool stuff I got to do, I feel like I wasted it. I don't feel like I wasted it because it went away and I didn't have access to it anymore. I feel like I wasted it because when I had it, I only used it to make my life better. When I had an opportunity to make other people's lives better. And who do I really want to be? Who's the character I really want to play? And if you can do that, if you can go through a rebranding process for yourself, what else becomes possible? It's all aspirational. You put up a sign, you tell the world who you want to be. I'm on a stage in a room full of people right now, some of whom are looking up here, some of whom are doing other things. And that's what this dynamic is, that's what this relationship is. But because I'm on a stage, and it doesn't even matter the size of the stage, there's a psychology trait that happens, where if I say something about myself, like you're sitting at a conference, you presumably paid to get into, or at least you're taking time, opportunity cost away from something else to be here. And you're in this room. If you're in a room listening to the speaker, by default, whatever they say about themselves, you're going to believe is true. I can tell you that I'm a designer. And I'll tell you right now, the God's honest truth is the way I became a designer was I got on the stage like this at a 360 iDev like 7 years ago, and I started telling people I was a designer. I had no qualifications. I knew how to use Photoshop, but that was about it. But I wanted to try. Once I started telling people, they believed it. When I decided I wanted to stop focusing on music and start focusing on, or stop focusing on tech stuff and start focusing on music, I just started telling people I was a musician. And almost immediately, people just believed me. And they would ask questions about the band and what kind of music we made. There was no period of having to convince people. You just say it and they believe it. I could tell you I'm a rock star, and some part of you, even if you think that sounds stupid, is going to be like, yeah, that's that guy from the band. I saw him at the talk. I could tell you all sorts of crazy shit. I could tell you that a few nights ago, I was at the Hayden Planetarium in New York City hanging out with Neil deGrasse Tyson until 1 in the morning, and you'd fucking believe me. That one's bullshit. That didn't happen. We're actually up until 2 in the morning. True story. But you can be whatever you want to be, and the only way I can get to do cool shit like that is by deciding, this is who I'm going to be. This is where I want my puck to be. This is where I want to go. How do I get there? How do I reapproach my own story? So going back to my Amsterdam story, running off to another country, meeting a girl, all that. So I met a girl. Finally, I get to get up on a stage like this and tell a different version of the story like this. I met a girl, and I won't tell the whole story. I'm running low on time. But I met a girl. ... Surprise! I got married. Other than a few friends, I haven't told anybody this, and not because it's a secret, but because it's just sort of, I don't know. I see shit differently. I don't feel like it needs to be a big. We didn't do a big. Fancy $100,000 wedding with Kim and Kanye there. There was no thing like that. And I don't really see life or love or relationships that way anymore. My wife is from Russia. And I thought, in the spirit of who do I want to be, what's the story I want to be able to tell about myself? Who's the character I really want to play? That's not my wife, by the way. That's a different guy. I thought, if I'm gonna effectively. If I'm going to have a Russian mail-order bride, I can't just stop there. Let's fucking go full tilt. So we got married in Central Park with an Elvis impersonator and officiating the wedding. Actual photo. Selfie. Our wedding picture is a selfie. Because this is the character I actually want to be. This is where I want to be. This is how I see my life. I don't want to live somebody else's life. I don't want somebody else's story. If I'm going to do something like this, of all the crazy shit I've ever done in an attempt to figure out who I am, the most important thing that I've learned is that I love doing crazy shit. Even if, it ends in heartbreak in a foreign country, like I can learn something from that. And so now when I do crazy shit, maybe I'm a little bit wiser. Maybe I'm a little bit more prepared for when things are, truly unexpected. But my brand, who I am now, who I want to be, is a person who's not afraid to do things that might be considered normal. Like there's still that counterculture part of my brain, that punk rock grunge kid who wants to rebel against the establishment. I still got a little bit of that. But if I'm going to do something like get married, I don't have to do it the way other people have done it. I can do my own shit. So I've taken the things that I've learned from the branding of the band and all of my iOS experience, all of the Apple community experience, and I've wound up in a position of being able to start something for another community. And I do see a way to bridge all of this. But I started a company called Standard Broadcast. And I did it primarily to make sure we had access to sponsors to get money for the band to make music videos. And along the way, because I wasn't out to make money with this, we had all these rules about the kinds of things that we would do for sponsors, the kinds of things we would ask creators to do. We didn't ask people to do things that were gross or disrupted the way they wanted to create. And over time, more and more creators in the YouTube space were asking me to help with their stuff. And I went to a conference, a YouTube conference in Amsterdam again, a few months ago. And I met up with some creators there and some like fans. There was like a science and education meetup. Because the folks I work with, some of the crossover is there already. Like, you know who CGP Grey is? He's one of the partners of the company. Philip Detmer from In a Nutshell, Fritz Gesagt. So I'm at this meetup with these people, these big name YouTubers, and they're hanging out with fans. Just people who like watching their stuff. And there's a woman who hosted a fairly large YouTube channel about physics. And this kid comes running up to her at the meetup, and he's everything you'd want a nerdy 13-year-old boy to be. He had like greasy hair, pimples, thick glasses, braces, a little chubby, breathlessly excited just to be talking to her. And I watched her listen to every word he said, truly listen to him, ask him questions about his class and how he was doing in class. And he was going on about how he wouldn't be passing physics without her. And the meetup ended, and like 40 minutes later, they're still talking. And I stood there just to watch. And I'm thinking about my brand, the band's brand, all these things that we want to be. And here I'm watching somebody who just is connecting with a fan, not as a fan, but as a person. And I started thinking about the things I could be doing differently, the approach I could be taking. And I come right back to that question of, what am I spending my privilege on? And so we decided to build it up, open it up to more creators. We're trying to build a system now that is useful for people beyond just the core influencers, the people who are already successful. How can we make success attainable for people who haven't already gotten there? Working outside of the bubble. The branding, this wouldn't be possible if I hadn't gone through these other experiences and thought about how my decisions and the imagery that I surround myself with affect my decisions and the way I see the world, the way I see my creative progress. And with a little bit of effort, a little bit of thought put into branding, you can make yourself better, and you can make something a little bit bigger than yourself. Branding is really about deciding where you want to go and just telling people. My band's called Airplane Mode, airplanemode.com. If you want to buy some t-shirts and shit, dftba.com. I don't do a Q&A thing. If you want to chat, I'm happy to talk out there. I don't want to be up here talking down to people. I don't find that useful anymore. But if anybody has any questions, let's go chat. Thanks, guys.